Welcome everybody. Hope you all can hear us. Welcome to the first of the two-part joint meeting of the Oriental Numismatic Society and Mumbai Coin Society meeting. We will be having two talks this evening or this afternoon in the UK. The first one is by Dr. Anand Shroff. He's an eye surgeon by profession for over 2 decades. Dr. Anand Shroff is a numismatist with a passion for history. He has an MA in numismatics. He collects Indian coins from across the spectrum, but in very high grades. He collects right from ancient to East India Company. And he's a fourth generation eye surgeon and is a well-known doctor here in Mumbai. So I'll hand over the mic now to Dr. Anand Shroff.
So I'll start with this Murshidabad set of a mohar and a rupee. So this is a set from the time of Muhammad Shah. The mohar is from 1136 AH, the 6th regnal year. It has a very different kind of arrangement from other Murshidabad mohars. And there's a rupee which also is almost identical but minted 11 years after. These coins have a link with the Jagat set. So I'm just going to go a little bit into the history of that of the family. There was a Seth Hiranand Sahu who moved to Patna from the west in 1652. He was involved with the East India Company at a very early stage because he used to loan to them for the purchase of saltpeter from Patna. He had 7 sons, one of which Manik Chand was sent off to the east, to Dhaka, which was then the capital of Mughal Bengal. Azim-uz-Shan was the viceroy there, and Dhaka itself was known for the muslins and woven stuff, all fine weaves. Azim-uz-Shan was expecting Aurangzeb to pass soon, and therefore he would pick up all the cargo which would come at the Dhaka port, and then he would sell that stuff to all the agents. So he would buy everything that was there and try to make as much money as he can so that he could raise an army in time for the demise of Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb came to know about this, and he struck 500 horse off from the prince's rank. And Aurangzeb also appointed the Kartab Khan to the office of the Diwan so that he could look after the whole all the finances, and he bestowed on him the title of Murshid Kuli Khan. Murshid Kuli Khan almost immediately sends the emperor a crore of rupees as a revenue, which Azim-uz-Shan is not happy about. He gets instigated, tries to kill Murshid Kuli Khan. Murshid Kuli Khan escapes somewhere around the end of 1702 or 1703, along with Manik Chand, who is his banker, to this excellent site of Maqsoodabad, which is like the pupil of the eye. It's right in the center of Bengal, from where news and trade can happen. Manik Chand settles, who's a banker, settles at this place called Mahimapur, where he builds this large house, and for 50 years that house would be the center of credit and the principal loan market of northern India. Murshid Kuli Khan again almost immediately goes to the Deccan to Aurangzeb with over 1 crore rupees. It is said about 1.5 crores. Aurangzeb, in his happiness, also makes him the Diwan of Orissa. It's at this point, with the blessings of Aurangzeb, that he names this town of Maqsoodabad after himself to Murshidabad. Tradition has it that the first mint was situated in a place called Killa Nizamat, and that ghat going down is known as Mint Ghat. Now, transport of revenue at this point to Delhi happens in in the form of wagons by road, and the banking house of Manik Chand is the one which actually does all this. In all these succession fights which happen in 1707, 1712, these are seized. In fact, all the tribute that goes from Bengal is seized. And to avoid all this, Manik Chand then starts to draw hundis or drafts to the office in Delhi. And the earliest recorded evidence of that hundi business is in 1728. Now at this time, there's this fight between Jahandar Shah and Farooq Siyar in 1712. Murshid Quli Khan unfortunately sides with the wrong side. And of course, he's not sure of whether, like Farooq Siyar is, whether he's in the good books anymore or not. In the meantime, the East India Company sends this John Sermon embassy to meet the emperor. And they would like to mint coin at the Murshidabad mint without let or molestation. And at the same time, Samuel Feek, who is also the chief at the factory at, Kosim Bazaar, which is on the outskirts of Murshidabad, where all these English, French, Dutch all have their factories. They also try their best at a local level to try and make an arrangement with Murshid Quli Khan. But as things happen, they are successful with the Farman of 1717, and the company gets a right to mint their own coin. So they send on the 1st of July 1717, they send 20 chests of treasure to be coined, which they refuse point blank, saying that their mint master Raghunandan is in a dying state. So they go then to the Nawab, who looks at it, reads it, and bluntly refuses them the use of the mint. Now, at this point, we want to just go a little off track to the title of Jagat Seth, as to how this banking house of Manik Chand actually got this. So it seems that Farooq Siyar, one of between 1712 and 1723 is when they say that this happened. So the emperor was apparently as part of the succession thing. He marched from Murshidabad and went to the capital. And along the way, he tried to raise funds, and the house of Fateh Chand Sahu helped him, and therefore it seems that they got the title. And another version is that Murshid Quli Khan himself gave the recommendation. Another third version says that there was a famine, and Seth Manik Chand and his adopted son Fateh Chand happened to be in the city, and they let off all these hundis all over the city, and with the happy result that there was no famine anymore, and the emperor very happily then conferred upon him the title of Jagat Seth. And the East India Company says that somewhere between November 1722 and October 1723 is when the Emperor Muhammad Shah gave the title. So in 1717, Raghunandan, who was unwell, is now dead. So Fateh Chand takes over control of the Nawab's mint at Murshidabad. And in fact, visitors to the old home of the Seths are actually shown the ruins of the old Murshidabad mint. It was of good fortune for Bengal that everything was minted at one place, because there was no coin anarchy at all, because anything that came by land or by sea into Bengal was all minted in one place, and everything was all in order. In 1721, again, the East India Company tries to mint some coin, but the council is told that while Fateh Chand is so close to the Nawab, there is no chance that any Shroff merchant or anybody else can mint even a rupee's worth of silver. This is a Murshidabad rupee of the first regnal year. This is a coin of the 5th year. In regnal years 2 and 3, the treasury was empty, but by the 6th year, it seems that they had a lot of money, because the emperor has been seen to grant 1 crore of rupees to one of the generals to be able to raise an army, and he maintains that army also at 5 lakhs a month. So we now come to the coin in question, which we would like to showcase, which is a Murshidabad Mohar of the 6th regnal year. It seems to have a very different arrangement and calligraphy. Now, the 6th year was apparently a very fortuitous year for the emperor and even in Bengal, and therefore we don't know, but it may be likely that this coin was minted for a happy occasion, because this kind of arrangement is not seen earlier. Even after this coin goes by, then you have the other regular coins coming in with a very regular kind of calligraphy of regnal year 12 and 17. We then come to this second coin that we chanced upon, which actually came up in a US auction about some time ago. And I suddenly noticed that it had exactly the same font as what we saw in regnal year 6. So this one, according to the auction house, they were unable to decide the reason why in 1735 such a coin had been minted. It had not, this kind of arrangement hadn't been seen earlier, and therefore the auction house wasn't sure as to why, what was the reason for this. So just to discuss about this, in 1724, at the time of the Mohar, that's the 6th regnal year, Fateh Chand was clearly in control of the mint, which was at his home. He was, every coin of Muhammad Shah that was minted in Bengal, especially in Murshidabad, was minted at the house of the Jagat Seth. The 6th year seems to be, as I said, quite a lucky year for the emperor. So we don't know whether, because of the fortuitous year, that it was minted as a separate kind of coin. But this kind of arrangement, since it hadn't been seen, so we wanted to talk about it and have like a discussion on this kind of arrangement, and the fact that the rupee and the mohar have a very, very similar arrangement. Even after 11 years, they have identical dots, they have identical arrangements, stars, everything is the same, except it's a bit slightly different, of course. So this is the reason why we actually wanted to have like wanted to showcase these two as a set. Can I move to my next topic, or would somebody like to ask?
We can probably finish your talk entirely. You can go to the next talk, and then we can have question and answers.
Okay.
After that.
So we go now to a little later, after the 1720s and the 30s, into the 1740s and 50s. But so this is a rare coin again of Ahmad Shah, of Savai Jaipur Mint of the 4th regnal year. It's a symbol of fratricide or not, we'll discuss. So we go back to the same. Aurangzeb goes into Marwar, and he, because he's not able to get taxes in time and stuff, and then the issues with the revenue, he declares Marwar as Khalisa, which means that he will now directly tax that area. Jizya also is imposed, and the Mughals now are paramount rulers over there with the right to assess and levy taxes, and the Rajput have just a bit of internal autonomy. So the root cause of this huge fight that happens between two sons is starts with Savai Jai Singh II. He finds that even under Aurangzeb's son, he has no prospects of any kind. So on his return back to Amber, he goes via Mewar, and that's where he and the the Maharana meet, and he promises him help and also marries his daughter to Savai Jai Singh II on the condition that the son born to her would succeed Jai Singh. So with the help of Mewar, they are successful, and Jai Singh is now the Raja of Amber. So this is a typical coin from that time, because Jai Singh now becomes a Mughal Subedar of Malwa on 3 different occasions, spanning a total of 10 years of being the Subedar there. There's wide social contact which happens between Amber and the Malwa region, which later, when he founds the city of Jaipur, it is that Jaipur and Malwa have a lot of interrelation and social interaction. Now we reach the point where the Marathas enter that area, and for them, Malwa is a very important frontier area. In the 70s, they are in the 1740s, they're really active over there. They find it to be an ideal base for launching campaigns in the bordering regions of Mewar, Kota, Bundi, and Jaipur. In 1743, after the death of Savai Jai Singh II, his eldest son takes over, that is Ishwari Singh. But according to the promise made, Madho Singh was supposed to be the ruler. But the succession is recognized by Muhammad Shah. Here's a coin which is from the fairly early time of Ishwari Singh's reign. So at this point, both the stepbrothers, get Shinde and Holkar into this whole thing. Now at this point, obviously the Peshwa, being the boss, comes into the picture, and he initially supports Ishwari Singh because he has great relations with Savai Jai Singh II. And apparently the Peshwa's mother had gone on a tour around that area and she was very well looked after. So the Peshwa had a soft spot for Ishwari Singh. But unfortunately, he also wanted to be paid, and Jaipur was overwhelmed with debt. So the Peshwa decides to give whatever territory he holds, he wants to give it to Madho Singh if he's paid 15 lakh rupees. Now, what happens is that the Maharana is most upset because these people are not going by the promise, and so he takes to the field. Ishwari Singh rushes back, but there is no battle, and Madhu Singh is Onk and 2-3 other places for an annual which annually yields 5 lakhs. Not happy with that arrangement, so they go into war. So you have Bundi, Kota, Mewar, and of course the nephew Madho Singh going to war against Ishwari Singh. So they meet at Toda Rai Singh and they lose, of course. And the Maharana is told to pay 22 lakhs to Jaipur. Now now Ishwari Singh also takes over Bundi and he bombs Kota. At this point, I might just add that the Jaipur army was very well known for the fact that they had great firepower. They were not very well known for the infantry and the cavalry, but immense firepower was very helpful for them in war. So at this point, I just want to go off track a little bit to just tell you that all these people who are having a fight between 1690 and 1750, there's so much of intermarriage that happens between them. Kota's wife and stepmother are from like Mewar. His 10th wife, his sister is a 10th wife of Sabai Jai Singh. Jai Singh's father's sister is married to Bundi. Jai Singh's daughter is also married to Bundi. Gaj Singh of Jodhpur has 7 out of 11 wives who are from Jaipur and the areas around Jaipur and like Mewar. Jai Singh's 5th wife is from Kishangarh. Kishangarh is married to Sikar. Sikar is a Jaipur feudatory state and the head of the Jaipur army. So this is the sort of maze that they're in. So they go now, again, of course, after losing these people, again get together and they choose to now again fight at the Battle of Raj Mahal. Again, it's all of them and they meet in front of the deity at Nathdwara hoping that they will be successful. This time they get Holkar in with his entire force for 2 lakhs. Again, they lose, but this time Ishwari Singh pursues the Maharana into Mewar state, lays siege to Bhilwada, which is a very important commercial center, and the Maharana is forced to sue for peace. So now Mewar goes to Chhatrapati Shahu, an even higher position to force Ishwari Singh to give Madho Singh at least a Jagir of 24 lakhs annual return. Bajirao enters that area in 1748 at a fee of 15 lakh rupees. Ishwari Singh wants to sue for peace, but the Maratha fees are so high that they just aren't able to afford it. So now this time they have a bigger army, and like a Gangadhar Tatya comes into the picture. And in the Battle of Toda Rai Singh, what happened is that Ishwari Singh had captured back Tong, Toda, and all these other areas. So now the Maratha army gives all these back to them. Gangadhar Tatya, in fact, reaches up to the Jaipur main gate, and Shiva Singh of Sikar, who is the head of the Jaipur army, repulses them. And therefore, they go into the Battle of Bagru. Now, despite 7 Rajas together and only Ishwari Singh on one side, they still aren't able to do anything. So on the 3rd day, Malhar Rao says, listen, we have to make peace. So they make peace and they reach a treaty of Bagru. Now, all this is happening in those 5 to 7 years. It's all compressed into multiple fights. Now, here you have Madho Singh again saying that I will give you half of Jaipur land if you help me against Ishwari Singh. Malhar Rao says, yes, I'll be happy to help out. So in front of the idol of Shiva, in front of the Mahakal Shiva, they reach terms, and Holkar says, I want 5 crores if I give you Jaipur state. Jayapal Shinde at this point says it's not fair. He says that that Ishwari Singh has abided by the treaty and every aspect of it. Ishwari Singh goes to Bundi and says it's unjust, unfair, please help me. Holkar tells Bundi that I have no intention of helping Ishwari Singh. I don't even care about his life. My intention is I want to get the money. So there's a final onslaught with this whole group, and Scindia adds on again, but still they're not sure. So they decide on a little bit of a ruse, and there's a betrayal which is there then in the picture. Now there's a known enmity between two of the ministers, Khatri and Hargovind Natani. Khatri is the honest one, but he is killed. And Hargovind Natani then secretly joins Madho Singh. What he does is 2 weeks before the fight, he sends the best Jaipur troops out and tells Ishwari Singh, I've got 1 lakh troops in my pocket. And the last minute when the troops are about to meet and fight, he says, sorry, I have a hole in the pocket and I don't have a single soldier with me. Ishwari Singh has no choice but to take his own life. So on the midnight of 12th December 1750, Ishwari Singh and his queens and a favorite concubine, and of course the majority of the harem, kill themselves. Madho Singh enters the city and Holkar immediately asks for his 5 crores. So this is just a few of the coins of the time of Ahmad Shah, where you have Regnaliers 1, 2, 3, which are Ishwari Singh coins, which are quite similar to each other, of course. And then you have Regnalia 4, 5, 6, which are of the stepbrother. So the Madho Singh coins are slightly different, but about the same fabric. You also have that famous Nazrana rupee, which was minted from years 1 to 7. I'm not sure about the 7th year, but I'm sure about 1 to 6. And the most common one is of Regnalia 6. So we now come to the Nazrana that we talked about. This, in my opinion, is a bit more important from the historical point of view, because Madho Singh starts his rule in December of 1750. Now that is that's the 3rd regnal year. Now the 4th regnal year of Ahmad Shah starts on April 29th, 1751. So in those 4 months from December to April is when this coin was probably minted, soon after Ishwari Singh died. So it is likely that this is a symbol of his victory over the brother after 7 years of war. These coins have been seen only in his reign, in the 4th and 5th years of Madho Singh I. So Regnalia 4 and 5 coins are found at the National Museum. The 4th year coin seems to be of the same die as the coin that we have shown earlier. I want to get into a small little bit about wrong attributions. I think according to KM, I think Ishwari Singh dies in 1760 instead of 1750. So you have these coins, more so the common Nazrana rupees of Regnalia 6, which are attributed to Ishwari Singh, but only the first 3 regnal years can be actually attributed to Ishwari Singh. And I've even found a coin of Ishwari Singh, which is in the name of Alamgir II, which goes to 1758 when he actually died in 1750. Thanks. Is there time for a third one?
No. I think we are almost at 7:30.
This is an interesting coin of Farrukhabad, which I had discussed with Dr. Paul Stevens. It's a 5-minute lecture, or then we can quit.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because this is something I had discussed with Dr. Paul Stevens, so I just want to talk about it.
Sure.
So sorry, just an extra 5 minutes, please. So this is a transitional coin of the Farrukhabad state. We're not sure whether it was a Nazrana or just a large broad flange rupee. So I just go quickly into the initial history of the area. Muhammad Khan was the one who founded that place, but when he was young, he got involved also in the Farrukhsiyar versus Jalandhar Shah fight. He took the side of Sayyid Abdullah Khan, and they won, and he was rewarded with the title of Nawab. So he founded 2 towns called Kaimganj and Muhammadabad, both named after himself and his son, and which was not taken well by the emperor. So he then founded this town of Farrukhabad, named after the emperor. In 1720, Muhammad Khan is now on the opposite side, and he helps to defeat Syed Abdullah Khan, and for the which he gets money and a Jagir. Now, in the 1740s, Ahmad Shah is now the new ruler, and Safdar Jung, who from Oudh, who's a neighbor, they seize the state in the late 1740s. By then, Muhammad Khan isn't around, and his second son, Ahmad Khan, comes in. So he's now the leader, and he is extremely powerful. So he takes over. So he plans occupation of Awadh. He's already taken from Aligarh to Kanpur a fair amount of area. Emperor makes peace with him, and he recognizes his title of the Bangash. So he now puts his own name into the mint. So now Ahmednagar gets added to the Farrukhabad name. So we have coins of Alamgir II in the second regnal year, which only have the Farrukhabad name over there. And then the next year you see Ahmednagar. I haven't found a regnal year 3 coin yet to know which one it is. But somewhere in that range is when the name was changed. Muzaffar Jung, the son, then takes over. There's a treaty of Faizabad, which was signed in 1775 by the neighbor Awadh. So Asifudollah tells the East India Company that they're fine to come in and have a brigade of company troops over there. And this is formed in 1777. And however hard they try, and it's right at the outskirts of the Farrukhabad state, and however hard they try, they're not able to get them out of there. Now we come to the end, where in 1796, Muzaffar Jung dies and his son Nasir Jung takes over. Umrao Begum, who is the first wife of Muzaffar Jung, and her brother Aminuddaulah decide to get their heir, Dilawar Jung, to come in. Nasir Jung succeeds, gets 50,000 rupees a year as his allowance, but Aminuddaulah has complete control over everything. In 1801, the neighbor again, Awadh, decides to cede over everything to the East India Company. Now, at that point, Aminuddaulah tries to reduce Nasir Jung's allowance by half. And in this fear, Nasir Jung goes straight to the company and says, I will give you my state for an annual return of 108,000 rupees for myself and my dependents, and I want whatever was going on with my father, all the rent-free grants, pensions, and all the jagirs must be intact. This is a coin of regnal year 39. This was before they ceded over, but that regnal year 39 is a frozen year which is used for some time. So the transitional coins then came into being between 1802 when they ceded and 1805. So you had this working mint over there, and 1.3 to 2.6 million coins a year were minted between 1802 and 1805. Transitional coins were probably struck till 1807 also, but official mint records say it was only 1805. Because in 1805 is when they said that we want all the Farrukhabad coins to look exactly like the Lucknow coins, and they'll be frozen 45th Sun Sikka. So the new Sikka coins came from 1807. I'm just going to go into what a transitional coin is. This is when they were taking over. So any coin between 1217 and 1220 with the frozen regnal year 39 and the Ahmednagar Farrukhabad full name is what we call a transitional coin. It was only after that, after 1807, when they started minting the coins, that the Ahmednagar name was dropped. So this is a coin of 1218 and there's one of 1220, both frozen regnal year 39. I happened to chance upon a very nice double rupee, only two known, of 1218, regnal year 39. It's a transitional coin because of the date and the frozen year, and because it says Ahmednagar there also. And this is the last slide. So I was looking during the lockdown at my coins, and I chanced upon this one. I started looking in Dr. Stevens' book to just look for the picture, and I wasn't able to locate it. So I sent him an email saying, "Sir, where do I find this coin?" And he said, "Yeah, this is a coin that I hadn't seen at the time that I wrote my book. Somewhere along the line, I missed this piece. It had come in auction some few years ago." And he said that I missed this piece, but when I looked, and so he was very nice enough to show me where exactly and what was the number of this coin. And that's when I got into this whole thing about this whole history of this coin, of these coins. And so what the author said that this might be a Nazrana coin, but it could also be a large philan rupee. Baldwin's had said that this was a Nazrana rupee. So this is open to like discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand.
I'm sorry I went really quick with that. Yeah.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. It was a very nice talk. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put it up in the chat box or unmute yourself and you can go ahead. Anand, your talk on Ishwari Singh was uncannily similar to what happened with Dara Shikoh. So I would imagine it's happened to several princes, the same similar story over and over again in history.
Yeah, and plus even in the that was in the 1600s, but the 1700s has many stories of fights and a lot of like turmoil.
Malcolm?
Dr. Stevens, would you want to say anything? Because I had sent you an email and you were extremely kind to me to just answer back and tell me where and what to look for.
Well, that's very kind of you, but no, I thought your talk was excellent. It summarizes a really complex set of activities that are going on at the time. Well, through all the three different presentations that you gave, I found very interesting. It really is very complex to try and unravel what's going on between all the different warring factions. But I thought you did it very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Shailen.
I want to put the cat amongst the pigeons really a little bit here, because I want to start by asking people what exactly is a Nazrana. I mean, why do you call coins Nazrana? Is that a category? Is that a historic entity? I mean, what? I mean, what the research that I have done on this suggests to me that this was a completely ad hoc. I mean, not exactly ad hoc, but kind of a colloquial category that was invented again completely on hearsay accounts by Charles Panish, who was a curator of the American Numismatic Society. And apart from Charles Panish's assertions that these coins are Nazarana, whatever that means, there is not much of a semblance, in actual historic accounts. There are coins which are called Nazar coins, and those are surely there's evidence to suggest that they were struck for this particular ritual of Nazar, which is not exactly Nazrana. I mean, those who understand the nuance here in the language would appreciate that. But my basic question is that is it absolutely necessary that a coin which is slightly unusual or fantastically unusual, by saying, oh, having a full flan strike or whatever, to sort of take it as a imperative that there must be some historical connection behind it? I mean, coins are not struck to, not always struck to celebrate occasions. Coins are more functional objects, and there is enough data available to suggest that some of these coins, and there was a practice that every time a new die was employed, a coin in the full flan was struck, particularly in Bengal, and sent to the mint master for approval. But that's a very functional aspect. It's got nothing to do with anybody killing one another or having a treaty or anything. So I guess that we have to revisit this whole concept of, what exactly is a Nazrana. I know that there is a propensity towards suggesting that this must be something unusual and therefore historically significant, but that's not always the case.
I would agree with you. So then we'll have to probably come up with a word to describe such coins which are slightly out of the ordinary.
Especially struck.
Sorry?
specially struck, differently struck, whatever. I mean, like, but I mean, this Nazrana terminology clouds a lot of pictures, because we know for a fact that, for example, there are coins which are struck, reported in catalogs as Nazrana. So for example, there is a Jalawar rupee, which is struck, but we know that they were struck for jewelry. They were not struck for Nazranas. They were struck because that particular size was required in a necklace. So there are these kind of extra monetary functions that go on in producing coins out of the ordinary, looking out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else with any other questions or comments? There's one comment in the chat box. Nazrana may be a commemorative coin of those times. Sorry.
Can I just make a couple of points?
Please.
One fairly straightforward. I mean, what I see in the records of the East India Company are coins specially struck to be shown to the authority in charge, which are nowadays, whether they were originally, I don't know, nowadays called Nazarana. So that's what I've always understood that to mean. But I notice in catalogues, so this is more controversial, dealers seem to like calling anything that looks nice a Nazarana because they can sell it for more money. So, I don't disagree with Shailene, but we have to think there are some commercial considerations in this naming convention as well.
Shailene, if I may just add that, what would you then, I mean, when the king started a new regnal year and you wanted to start a new, like a design, would the mint not want to show it to the emperor and take his, or the king or whoever, to take his kind of like a blessings that this is a right shape, right design, and what is put on the coin, because it was like the newspaper of the day, to say that can we put these things up, and and that would be like a sort of like a like a template for the year to come.
Well, I mean, it is speculative. We don't have, I mean, as Paul said, we have evidence to suggest that these were shown to the mint master or whoever it was in charge. So, so the mint setup has these people in it. There is a daroga, there's whatever. In the same setup, you have engravers. And to say whether the engravers have done their job right, whatever they do is then stamped and shown to the boss, as it were, as if, it's like any other office setup. It's not something highly unusual in that respect. Whether this chain then transmits all the way to the emperor is entirely a speculation. I mean, imagine that this was happening in Murshidabad, then, the person who was engraving the die then showed it to his boss. Whether the boss showed it to Nawab, whether the Nawab showed it to the Subadar, whether the Subadar showed it to the emperor is we don't know. Most likely not. I mean, I mean, if you're talking about within a regnal year, or within a pair of dies, you're talking about one coin, one pair roughly striking 4,000 or 5,000 coins. So if they start producing every year a template to be shown to the emperor, I think the emperor is going to have a lot of coins to see. So,
and also, sorry, Sharon, but my first talk on the rupee and the mohar, I was really keen to know whether they both have exactly the same ornamentation even after 11 years. So is that something that we see often?
I would say that it's peculiar but not unusual, because the ateliers ran in families many times. So they were like there was a kind of a tradition of die engraving. Like you can see that again and again, because the thing is that for example, Farrukhabad that you just mentioned, absolutely every coin after Alamgir II is a Nazrana coin. I mean, there are loads and loads and loads of Farrukhabad coins which are struck nicely. Itawa is another example. There are lots of Itawa coins which are struck beautifully. So I think there is a particular workmanship angle here, which then gets into a kind of family or workshop identity. So so there is that kind of thing happening in case of some coins. So I'm quite. It's the same thing that I found with things like Nisar. I mean, there is a functionality element to it, which people tend to gloss over for the sake of whatever commercial advantage or whatever it is. So it sounds nice to say that, oh, I have a Nazrana, hoo-hoo. But how far is it historically connected to a set of events per se? I mean, it might be. I'm not denying it that it completely isn't. But the thing is that it is tenuous. The link is tenuous.
Can I speak?
No,
Yep.
please.
I think we're very much influenced by our modern concepts of coinage, that commemorative coinage since the late 19th century has become a very widespread practice. I think before that, it's quite an alien concept to the production of coinage. I think Roman numismatists have come up with this idea of coinage as propaganda and as newspapers spreading the word. I think it's a completely fallacious idea. One can explain every aspect of Roman coinage in a very different way. And this idea of coinage as propaganda has permeated the whole of numismatics. And I think one needs to step back from it and see coins as money, and that one needs to explain the phenomenon of unusual coins largely through having a different function within the monetary system, or being the product of different artists. The two coins that you show several years apart is almost certainly a different artist engraving the dies, and probably the previous one he's used that as his template for doing another one, whereas the other dies produced at that mint are done by a different artist. So I think one always needs to look at the people involved and the monetary function as a primary starting point for any discussion as to why coins are different. Okay. End of sermon.
We have a couple of comments in the chat box. I'll just read the last one out from Peter. Large coins require exponentially more power to strike, so it is human to take more time to strike them. As a consequence, they look different, but the one thing leads into another.
Just to add to that, there are actual references that when people order these coins for particular purposes, such as jewelry or to give away as gifts in marriage or whatever, that is a source of income for the mint, and they charge a different commission rate, a different striking rate. So to actually make the coins larger, they are taking trouble to actually charge more to the person who submits. But this only we see in 20th century, when we have evidences to suggest that these coins were being sort of ordered specifically for, like Jodhpur, Jaipur are good examples.
Okay, with that comment, I think we can move to the next speaker. Thank you, Anand, once again. Our next speaker is Dr. Abhishek Chatterjee. He's a pediatrician by profession and an avid numismatist by passion. He's been collecting Mughal coins, especially Mughal copper, for the last 10 years. He's been involved in multiple research articles in national and international journals. Over to you,
Hi,
Abhishek.
and yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll also
Right. All right. Hi, welcome.
make you a co-host so you can share your screen.
All right. So, hope this is visible to all.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Right. All right. So, with a very good talk from Dr. Anand Shroff, I now begin my a small talk on the Mughal copper coinage from the Baramati mint. First, let us have a look at where the place Baramati is. Baramati, as it is written in Persian, is also given on the top. And as you can see, this is the western coast of India. And you can see Mumbai and Pune, the two big cities. And right between Pune and Satara, you can see Baramati located. The location of Baramati and it's you have to note that the distance, it is almost equidistant from Pune and Satara. That is important probably later, because again, Satara becomes the stronghold of Chhatrapati Shahu, and Kolhapur becomes the stronghold of Tarabai. Right, what do we see in Baramati as far as this period that we are going to, and Baramati Fort? Unfortunately, only hello. Hello, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
All right, all right. So currently only the outer bastion and the entrance of Baramati Fort remains, and it has a police station inside the gates of the fort. Right. Let us talk about the Baramati Mint. Well, is it a mint that was known very recently? Not at all. On page number 176 of Journal of Numismatic Society of India, volume 8, way back in 1946, Dr. Pannalal first described and illustrated 2 rupee in the name of Muhammad Shah, bearing the regnal year 18. He read the mint name as Taramati, but could not identify the location of the place. 2 years later, on page number 61 of JNSI, a similar rupee was described by Khwaja Muhammad Ahmad from a treasure trove acquired by the Hyderabad Museum, where he read the name first time as Baramati and refuted the earlier reading by Dr. Pannalal. No date was seen on this coin. In the catalogue of coins in the Central Museum, Nagpur, the first rupee of Baramati in the name of Farrukhshar was described, and this was published in 1969. It is illustrated on the plate 7 of the Nagpur coin catalogue. Again, no date is seen on this coin. Another rupee of Farrukhshar was published by R.C. Senior in 1993 in newsletter 130 in Oriental Numismatic Society newsletter, titled 2 Rare Mughal Mints, and the date on the first. Similarly, then other rulers like Shah Alam first was also discovered, and one of them was earliest that I could find was one offered in 2010 in Todiwala auction. Auction 44, lot number 506, and it is dated 1123. Anno history. A mohar of Shah Alam first is also known and was part of a hoard which was discovered circa 2005, having nearby mints of Ahmednagar and Bahadurgarh, Parinda, of Shah Alam, Bahadur, and Jahandar Shah, and you can find it on the Zeno with that link. The only copper coin of Jahandar Baramati mint was known of Jahandar Shah, and it was again offered in Todiwala auction number 19 in 2007. None other than this copper coin is so far being published. So in short, the rupee of Baramati are found in the name of Shah Alam Bahadur, Farrukhshar, and Muhammad Shah. Mohar in the name of Shah Alam Bahadur, whereas a solitary copper coin of Jahandar Shah is known so far. Let us see how what is the historical perspective and how important Baramati is. Well, the earliest pre-Maratha record suggests that Baramati was a Jagir of Maloji Rao Bhosle, and he's the paternal grandfather of Shivaji Maharaj. It was given by Nizam Shahi of Ahmednagar and later controlled by Dadaji Konde, who was a mentor and guide of Chhatrapati Shivaji. The area came later under Chhatrapati Shivaji's control. Emperor Aurangzeb pursued a prolonged campaign in the Deccan. The founder of the Maratha Empire, Chhatrapati Shivaji, died in 1860. And after this, his eldest son, Sambhaji, became the head of the Maratha state. In 1689, just 9 years after the death of Chhatrapati Shivaji, he was captured, tortured, and executed by the Mughals. He was succeeded by his brother, Rajaram I. Rajaram was crowned in Raigad, that was the capital of the Maratha Empire at that time, on 12th of March 1689. However, the joy was short-lived as Mughals laid siege to the fort of Raigad on 25th March 1689, led by Zulfikar Khan. Zulfikar Khan was the viceroy and the governor of the Deccan, appointed by Aurangzeb. Raigad fell to the Mughals in November 1689. However, Rajaram could escape, but the widow of Sambhaji, Yeshubai, and his child Sahu first, who was a boy of 4-5 years, was captured by the Mughals and was sent to Aurangzeb as prisoners. Aurangzeb looked after Sahu pretty well. I mean, by the records, it seems that he took a personal liking to Sahu, and in spite of being an enemy child, or in that sense, he took great care in his education and training and everything. Rajaram's 11 years old reign was marked by a constant struggle against the Mughals, and he was hopping from one fort to the other, and he died finally in 1700 in Srinagar. Now, after Rajaram's death, his widow Tarabai proclaimed her infant son Shivaji II as Rajaram's successor, and herself as the regent. During her 7 years of regency, she took a great care, and she took charge of the war against against Aurangzeb's forces. Tarabai was skilled in cavalry movement and made strategic movements herself during these wars. She personally led the war and continued the fight against the Mughals. In the meantime, Aurangzeb died and unable to tame the Marathas, and died on 21st of February 1707. At Aurangzeb's death, his son Azam Shah was the closest to his father, and on Zulfikar Khan's advice, he decided to free Shahu first. The motive behind freeing Shahu was to start a civil war of succession between the Marathas. And in contest of Baramati, Chhatrapati Shahu first was married in 1703 in captivity by Aurangzeb, and as a wedding gift, he was given the Jagirs of Anankole, Supa, Indapur, Baramati, and Nevasa as wedding gift. Shahu was released in May 1707 and immediately laid claim to the Maratha throne. Shahu's claim to the Maratha throne found again supporters in prominent Maratha Sardars like Haibatrao Nimbarkar, Nemaji Shinde, Bapuji Sonadev, Parsoji Bhosle, and others. Shahu started marching towards Satara. Tarabai did not recognize Shahu's claim to the throne and dispatched a strong force under Dhanaji Jadhav and Parshuram Pant Pratinidhi against Shahu. The two forces met at Khed near Pune, but Dhanaji had already opened secret negotiations with Shahu and remained neutral in the battle. Ultimately, Parshuram Pant Pratinidhi could do little, and he was defeated by Shahu, and Tarabai's forces were defeated in October 1707. Shahu captured Satara and crowned himself Chhatrapati on 12th of January 1708. Tarabai, in the meantime, shifted her base to Kolhapur and Panhara Fort in particular. Shahu now controlled all the territories to the north of Varna River. Now, this river flows near Sangli. Tarabai was, however, far from over, and she, hatched various plots to weaken Shahu's position, and there was a constant shifting of loyalties between the Maratha Sardars. This period of uncertainty and lasted for about 4 years. Finally, in 1712, with the help of his trusted Sardar and Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath, Chhatrapati Shahu succeeded in putting Tarabai under arrest in a palace coup involving Rajasbai, that is the second wife of Rajaram, and placed her son Shambhaji II on throne. Tarabai later reconciled with Shahu in 1730. That is a kind of a historic perspective about the Maratha politics between the death after the death of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Thus, Baramati was firmly in Shahu's control from October AD 1707 after the Battle of Khed, and the earliest rupee is in the name of Shah Alam I, dated 1122 or 1709-10. A famous Sahukar or statesman, Babuji Naik, was in charge of Baramati between 1720 and 1745, and mint must have been run by him. Most of the coins known so far from Baramati are dated between 1709 and 1709-10 to 1712-13, with infrequent issues in the name of Muhammad Shah till 1736-37. That is, RY 18 is the last date that is known for Muhammad Shah. The need to maintain a mint at Baramati was probably felt during the period of turmoil between Shahu first and Tarabai, as there was probably a need to maintain a garrison at Baramati fort, and coins were needed for paying the troops. And later the mint was under the control of Babuji Naik and was probably required to produce coins on and off. Now, firstly, we come to the copper coins of Baramati, and that's our main topic. The only published coin of Baramati is in the name of Jahandar Shah, which was offered in Toliwala auction again way back in 2007. Jahandar ruled for less than a year, and so the date has to be 1712. The paisa is unique so far, and the legend is on the obverse it is Jahandar Shah Badshah, and reverse has Zar Baramati Sana Ahed, or the first regnal year. The weight is again 13.2, which is okay for a paisa, and a solitary half paisa or a fraction is also known. Let us come to the main coin. As you can see, this is the coin of that is described, and there you can see Baramati, the mint place where it is written. Let me describe the coin to you, and there it is. In red, you can see Jahandar Shah and Badshah written in orange. And on the reverse, you can see Zarb, Baramati, again written in blue, and Sana Ahed, written in purple. So that's the copper coin that is known for Jahandar Shah. The other copper coin known would be, I would attribute it to Farrukhshire. The coin is yet unpublished, but and mostly unknown to many advanced collectors of Mughal coins. Both paisa and half paisa is known. Again, the coin is dated to 1124, 1712. This is the first year of Farrukhshire's reign. The obverse has the legend Falus Badshah Farooq. I'm not sure whether Farooq is followed by CR also, because you have again some paisa of Ausa mint where the emperor's name is written just as Farooq. So it is not sure because you don't have it on plan, and unless a better specimen is known, it cannot be. We cannot really describe whether CR exists after Farooq. But reverse has Zar Baramati and Sana 1124. The paisa is this, and you can see here Falus and Badshah. It is very clear. And on the reverse, one can easily see Baramati, and the date is 1124. I would read that as 4. Some would, it was initially attributed as Shah Alam first because the date really looked like 1123. But then we have to go back to other issues of Farrukhshire. This is a rupee of Farrukhshire, and you can completely see the name of the emperor on the top. And again, you can compare the dates on the copper coin as well as the silver coin. The engraver seems to be the same, and you can see the style of writing, the date is also exactly the same. But 1123 is impossible for Farrukhshire, and because it has happened on on a lot of, it has happened consistently between coppers and silvers, it will be, it won't be feasible to simply call it an error. Farrukh Shah became Mughal emperor in the very last part of 1124, defeating Jahandar Shah. And again, another aspect that supports the attribution towards Farrukh Shah is at the top, the emperor's name is written, which is very partially seen on the copper coin. And this looks like the arch of the letter K, and which is possible only with Farrukh Shah. No other, we cannot justify the legend with other Mughals. And if I attribute it to Farrukh Shah, the legend would read something like this. Falus Badshah is written in blue, and you can see Farrukh. I'm not sure whether Seer follows it or not. And on the reverse, you can see Zar Baramati, and I guess the 1124 is written somewhat, very crudely, but in this way probably as 1124, and Sana is C. Again, a half paisa, as I said, is known, and again, you would probably not, and we couldn't completely get the date again on the half paisa. Again, this is the same style and the feature as like the paisa. Thus, in conclusion, Baramati is a rare Mughal mint for all metals, more so in coppers, because a handful, probably 4-5 copper coins are known so far. Only 2 rulers have yet come to light, that is Jahandar Shah and Farrukh Shah. What is important is Jahandar Shah's coin of Baramati mint are not known in silver and gold. So it is known only in copper. And both are dated at 1124, and that is 1712. And 1712 is exactly the year in which Tarabai was ultimately imprisoned and captured. The coin was minted during the phase of turmoil between the Maratha factions of Chhatrapati Shahu and Tarabai, and coppers are known in the year when Tarabai was arrested. Thank you. Well, that would be a wrap up on the copper coins of Baramati mint.
Thank you, Abhishek. If you can stop the screen share. Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you for this talk. It was a step forward from the book that was once written by Khwaja Ahmad. Anybody, if any questions or any remarks to make?
Could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
The East India Company, it's quite clear that silver coins are struck, and gold, are struck with much more control than copper coins. Copper coinage is almost always outsourced, we would say nowadays. A separate contractor is given. So I was just wondering if the same thing happens with Mughal coins, because there you compared a silver and a copper coin, basically saying that they're struck in the same mint. So I just wondered in Mughal times if the one mint struck both, or struck all the coins.
Well, unlike the East India Company issues, the copper coins were, during the Mughal times at least, were pretty tightly controlled, and I believe that it was definitely, it was not given as a contract per se, and as you can see with even the die engraving on the copper coins, on the coins of East India Company, the dies would be pretty crude, the dates would go here and there, but on copper coins you would get relatively good amount of mint, and I believe they were struck at the mint as such. They were not given as a contract, and they were also tightly controlled, although probably not as tightly as the silver and the gold, I would agree. But I think even Shalin can put some more light on the topic.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Sorry, what was I just heard? Sorry, what light am I supposed to throw?
Yeah. Hi. So the issue is, Paul just asked whether, unlike the East India Company issues, which was given, the copper coins were given as contracts to various other entities, where the Mughal copper coins are tightly controlled by the same mint master or the same engraver at the mint.
It's a very difficult. Frankly, there is not much of an answer. There is definitely the issue of copper in early 18th century is not something which is going on very regularly. So it must be very, very sporadic, if at all. Whether they were actually produced in the same workshop as the silver rupees, not any information. So there is I don't think there is particularly any evidence to that effect to suggest this way or that way. There is definitely evidence to suggest that contracts were being given slightly later. So we here most of the coins that we discussed are in the sort of 1710s, 1720s, but by come 1730. For example, we have documentary evidence to suggest that when the Peshwa was constructing his mansion in Pune, the famous mansion which is called Shaniwarwada, that the construction began in about 1732-33. And there is a clear reference to suggest that there was a mint master appointed and a contract was given to strike coins, particularly fractions, so that the laborers could be paid. So, but we don't have any such clear reference to at this point. So.
Okay, with that comment.
That answers the question, but anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
With that comment, I think we can conclude this joint meeting. Thank you very much, everybody, to join us for this talk, and we'll see you next month. That is on the 28th of November. We'll again be having 2 speakers. And I would like to take this opportunity and say thank you to Dr. Paul Stevens, Amit Surana, for making this this meet happen. So thank you very much. And until next month, stay safe and see you all then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.